Mike's up.
First bang. You
Smooth 98.1, love music of life. Welcome. If you just joined us, you are just in time. It's time for Freshly Pressed 981. On the show, we take a look at in depth analysis and also details of the stories making headlines in the dailies. And to lead us through the conversations this morning, we have Lakunle Yusuf. You can find him on social media at Lakunle Yusuf. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here.
Good morning. It's good to be here, Pete.
Also, we have Devo Okorie right here with us in the studio. You can find him on social media at Devo Okorie as well. Good morning, Devo.
Good morning, Lagos. Morning, Mr. Baker. Lakunle, a cool vaccine here and everywhere. Omicron here and everywhere.
Alrighty, Lagos, if you're out there and you want to be a part of our conversation, please reach out to us up on our WhatsApp platform. Send your messages to 0809-444-0981. Also, you can reach out to us on YouTube. We're streaming live, so let us know your thoughts as the show progresses. Let's dive right into it. I'm going to start off with the first one, Devo. This one is from the Guardian newspaper, and it says federal government awaits official memo as UK removes Nigeria from red list. Okay, so it goes on and on and on, but I want to give you the floor. Devo, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, it's like an interesting development, both in aviation travel, tourism, as well as international diplomacy. And why we say so is because with the onset of the Omicron variant of the coronavirus, which was rightfully and diligently detected in South Africa by their very sharp scientists, the rest of the world took a very, what I call it, um, dispassionate position by banning, first of all, about seven Southern African nations. And that was rejected and seen as some kind of, how do I call it? Some refer to it as
Appetite?
travel apartheid,
That's what they called it.
or it's being said to be seen as some kind of a disingenuous way of discriminating us, whereas we should have been given kudos for actually um, detecting and announcing it. And what from WHO's position, um, it was seen and later confirmed that Omicron had already existed in some of these Western nations. Okay, so as with time, immediately that they banned us, because remember the first time coronavirus was discovered, many countries took that position, and it almost looked as if you could actually prevent the virus from entering your country by locking up your borders, okay, to the countries that were seen on some
That
kind of
already
a
have it.
yes. Now, in this instance, what was adduced was that we hadn't really understood Omicron, okay? And in some quarters, people had said that Omicron, yes, was highly transmissible, but wasn't as devastating, wasn't as lethal because we haven't recorded as many deaths, though infection had increased greatly. So within this 10-day process, the Nigerian government also took a position. Immediately, we were put on the red list through the Ministry of Aviation that we were going to reciprocate, okay? Given the fact that, and not just because of the infection, given the fact that whilst you banned our people from entering your country, your
Remember, the ban is
airlines were coming into Nigeria and picking up passengers to other countries. So literally, you've taken the pot of soup from us while your own businessmen continue to eat happily. So that was seen as unfair, and which is why the Minister of Aviation wanted to take a reciprocity position or reciprocal. However, the FGF, as head of the presidential panel on the pandemic, did say that instead of taking that hardline position, that they would seek backdoor diplomatic channels. Now, in that process, as of yesterday, it came to their news that the UK government would be removing those 10 nations from their red list. Now, the
it
minister.
because of what Nigeria has done, or is it a simultaneous thing by all other
Yes,
countries as well?
I was going there because some would say, oh, in some places it's been reported that the UK government bows to the Nigerian position. I don't exactly believe it was because the Nigerian government took that position because we actually did not enforce it. We were only threatening to. However, I believe the UK government health commissioner did state that at this point in time, seeing that Omicron had spread already quickly around the UK, that the travel ban had become obsolete. So at that point in time, they would remove the travel ban. However, still insist on the protocols of
Which I think actually makes a lot more sense.
PCR testing before and after your arrival. Now, it wasn't said whether even the protocols of staying in a government appointed quarantine hotel for about a few days will still persist or not. But many travelers had paid so much money just to do that. One of the things I want to bring out of this is, can you imagine that despite the fact that they slam these high levels of restrictions on you, a ban, they even tell some of you, those who are still willing to travel, that you stay in a hotel for 10 days, pay for it for thousands of pounds, and eat very poor quality food. People are still willing to move. I really wish people would be that eager to enter Nigeria. I'm just,
Well, I mean, it is what it is,
on a
really.
lighter note.
But real quick, though, let's move on to the next story. And this one comes to you from the Punch newspaper, Lakonle. It says, Airpeace awaits UAE's letter on flight slots to Dubai. So there's been a back and forth about this as well. But what are your thoughts now?
Right. This story for me just highlights the general trade imbalance between Nigeria and a lot of other countries. I mean, imagine that the UAE requested for 21 flights into Nigeria a week, and they got it. And now a Nigerian airline requests for three.
Our national carrier.
A Nigerian airline, I'd like to say.
Mhm.
Because you know that Nigeria owns, by virtue of AMCON, owns two airlines already, which is not the one, which neither of them is not the one that is making this request.
Okay.
Okay, so a Nigerian airline requests for three, and you come back with an excuse that there are no arrival slots in your second rated airport, not even the de
The
facto
first
number
one.
one airport. Okay, so and I think that I'd like to congratulate Nigeria for standing up for air peace on this matter. And this is not also to disregard our capacity to meet up with this trade balances thing. Yeah, if we look at the number of travels between Nigeria and UAE, we'll know that other foreign airlines, particularly maybe Ethiopia, takes a larger chunk, even much more than the Nigerian airline, in taking Nigerians to the UAE.
Yes.
But now that they've indicated that capacity to do three flights a week, I mean, you should just have been a straightforward thing. That is what bilateral trades are about. You give me, I give you, I do. It's not like I'm taking everything from you all the time. So I'm happy that Nigerian government, like I said, stood up for the airline airpiece, and I hope that having done this, the airpiece will now put its best foot forward in fulfilling this
All the
all the
expectations.
expectations. Now they've got 7 instead of the 3 they actually requested for. So I hope that, and then the bit of it also then is also to say, Nigerians, please patronize airpiece. Let them be able to fulfill this 7. No, I'm just saying so that we're not losing
Slots anymore.
the slots. That the excuse that we've given you 7, we are not using it, doesn't come into
Well,
the
that was
matter.
almost the initial position because they were given slots in the main arrival ports, which was in Dubai. However, they preferred to go to, I think, Sharjah, which was an airport, not that because it was third rated, I think it was a cheaper landing for Air Peace. And now, um, this is what they've gotten doesn't exactly meet the expectation
Doesn't
because
meet their expectations, or it surpasses the
no,
expectation
it
from
doesn't
3 to
meet
7.
because it's still in Dubai, and that's not where they wanted to pass through. And like I said, they were dodging charges, and that's why initially when they were given, they gave it to other people because they didn't use it.
Hmm.
However, the notion using the diplomatic bilateral equation does come to play, and let's see whether it can fully grant them what they're looking for as a player.
Real quick, though, let's move on to our next story from the Premium Times. This one says Buhari replaces Lauratta Onochie, appoints new INEC
Onochie.
Onochie, excuse me, appoints new INEC commissioners. So, I mean, this story goes deep, and I don't know. Summarize it for us. What are your thoughts
Well,
about this?
let's refer to it as the body language of APC, always doing what they want instead of listening to the people. However, in this case, what we have is the ultimate position of the presidency finally taking a position on the appointment and reappointment of INEC commissioners. All right. As you know, the appointment of national electoral commissioners is highly political, highly political, because of the direct tie to the election. Even though elections umpires are meant to be uncompromising, dispassionate,
Unbiased.
but there's so much politics that goes into those who work in those locations. And for some time, recently, the president had sent names to the Senate, which was read by the Senate president, that the presidency had appointed five national electoral commissioners, okay, and then reappointed Mrs.
Onochie.
May, no, May Agbamuche Umbu. She's been reappointed to represent Delta State. Now, what happened was when her tenure was over, that was when the president had moved to appoint Lauratta Onochie to that position. As we know, Lauratta Onochie was a former presidential what do you call it, presidential aide, who many had felt was quite controversial in the sense that she had some very 100% loyalty for the presidency. And in her various actions, people felt that there would be some partisan behavior because under the constitutional INEC provisions, those who are appointed into INEC are meant to have a apolitical stance. So there was a lot of both from party civil service organizations, even on the social media, as to how and why she should have been appointed. Well, at the end of the day, the Senate did take a position on it, and she was voted. Her vote was rejected, not on the account of partisanship, but on the account of federal character. So at the end of the day, the presidency still allowed her to act for the commission that was yet to be reappointed. So in this instance, the presidency, let's say, has bowed to the judgment
Mm.
and has reappointed Mrs. Umbu instead of Agbachu Umbu instead of putting in Lauratta Onochie. So we hope that they take a leaning point from this in many other respects where the people's interest is at stake.
All right. If you just joined us, by the way, this is Freshly Pressed 981. If you want to add to the conversation this morning, please send your messages to our WhatsApp platform. It's 0809 444 I'll say that again, 0809 444 Luckily, the next story comes to you. It's from the Premium Times. It says, Bajabia Mila decries poor power supply in Nigeria. He demands government's
Oh
intervention.
my goodness. Karu.
So I don't know.
Somebody's just waking up.
I
Oh
want to add my
wow.
2 cents, but I want to hear what you have to say.
What intervention is the Honorable Speaker asking for again from the government? The government has invested several billions of dollars in this industry over the last 20 years. We remember the way we used to make fun of the 16 billion US dollars that was spent by a particular administration on this
The
matter.
Obasanjo
We
administration.
remember the bundling of the erstwhile PHCN
By the Jonathan
by
Goodluck
the another
administration.
generation, another government, and all these are things that have been done. Today, there are many investments by this current government in power. So, so much more that everything that needs to be done in court seems to have been done. Then does it then suggest that it is us, the people, that are the stumbling block
Hmm.
in making power what it should be? I mean, this is 2021. The first time electricity was used in the world in human history was over 100 years ago.
Okay.
All the technology that you need to make this thing happen already exists. Now we're talking about our generation, Gencos. It has taken us almost 40 years to complete what's the name of that one? The one in Adamawa, the power station in Adamawa State.
Obajano.
No, no.
Sorry, not Obajano.
The name cannot easily doesn't come immediately to my head.
That's the steel factory.
No. The power generation.
It's okay. It's okay.
So it's taking us more than 40 years. We're still talking about completing it. We have transmission
So do you
company
need
that
that
their
we need
system
more
has not been.
investments? Do you think that you mentioned 16 billion? You meant the
I
16
don't
billion.
think it's about investments. Now I think it's us, the people. What have we done with the investments we have done in this thing? I mean, it's just like you send a child to school. you are paying school fees. The child the school is asking, or rather, the child is asking for more money. You're asking the one I've given you, what have you done with it? That is the review we should be having. We shouldn't be talking about more investments now. Let us go back. The ones we have invested, what has it
Okay, so
given
we should
us?
look at review and then
Exactly, because at that point,
plot a
because
way forward.
something seems to be happening in that place, that like everybody seems to be getting away with their inefficiencies and non-performance. And of course, if you don't stop that and you add more investments, it will go the same way the previous ones has gone. So basically, what I think that they should do in the power sector, like one of the president of NIPEN, that's the reason for this conversation happened, has said, is that let us get the professionals involved. The transmission company itself, we have not done anything in terms of increasing the capacity of our transmission in ages. The Gencos generates more than the transmission capacity we have today can carry. So we are at that point, there's already some waste. Us, the consumers, many of us don't want to pay the exact fees. Those of us, some people doctor their meters, some connect and don't pay at all, and so on and so forth. So all
So we
these
need to
things,
check all the
exactly.
make
So
all
we
the
need
make a
to
lot of
block all
checkmates.
these things first, and that's where we should start from. Not going to
Investing more
add
money.
more money.
All right, if you just joined us, by the way, don't forget this is Smooth 98.1, Freshly Pressed 981 is what you're listening to. Your messages come to 0809 444 0981. This one here for Uche says, did you mean the Ajao Kuta? That's at Lakunle.
Yes, Ajakuta.
Oh,
Thank you.
also, Yinka comes in to say, wait, are we just going to move from the fact that Omicron was actually discovered in the Western countries and yet they kept quiet? Then you proceed to try to make it an African theme, even though I blame South African people that they're always acting like they're not Africans. The theme, the theme shocked them. And okay, this one here from Kalani. Kalani says, okay, Mambilla plants. Everybody's trying to tell you which plant is it.
Yes,
This one,
Mambila.
Mambilla
Thank you.
plant.
Yeah.
This one here says, enforce or not enforcing Nigerian Shakara don't catch UK government. That's a good omen to show that Nigeria is no more a baby nation to the UK. Kudos to Nigerian government. And okay, let's move on real quick to our next story. This one here is from the Vanguard newspaper, and it comes to you, Devo. It says Naira, slides ahead of Yuletide. Exchange for 570 per dollar. 570 naira per dollar.
Well, if you put Nigeria slides, that might also have been considered. However, I mean, there's no gainsaying in what is going on in the foreign exchange markets, and what's going on with the naira. As the song says, "Daddy was a rolling stone." I mean, our naira has been rolling and rolling for some time now, and it's no surprise to anybody, because recently in the market, operators who spoke to the Vanguard correspondent did say that naira was being bought at 567, was selling at 570. That's at the parallel markets, aka the black markets, as against the official rate of about 410. All right. Now, many have adduced this rise to one, the Yuletide, because it's Christmas time, people are traveling. One, people want to buy things, and most times a lot of things are imported into the nation. And so there's an increased demand for the dollar or for the greenback. Also, the macroeconomic factors with the imbalance of trade, whereby we're not making as much dollar revenue as before, as the federal government has been screaming for a while now. So at the end of the day, what it means is that the federal government cannot maintain all the subsidies that are currently, especially the petroleum subsidy, the electricity subsidy, and now we're referring to the foreign exchange subsidy. Now, this creates some level of market disparity, very steep market disparity, where the official rate of the greenback is 410 versus the market rate at 575. That's almost 200%. That's almost more than double. And this is given that you're in an economy that imports so much. And apart from the high level of importation, many items have already fallen into the unapproved FX list, non-approved FX list, meaning that the central bank cannot support it. So you have so many people legitimately looking for dollars to be able to support their businesses. And I mean, practically everyone is affected in one way or the other. Now, even though the central bank took a position last time whereby they took the functions of the BDCs in selling these dollars officially to the banks, it still hasn't really made a difference within the market. And this, like I said, this disparity creates what they call rent seeking. For example, because of that high level of exchange, many people are looking for ways to not to lose naira. Contracts in the business world and the private sector are being affected because if you fix the rates at a certain time, 2 months or 3 months down the line, because the rates has shifted, by the time you're being paid back your, if it's in naira, you're literally going to be at a loss. And the federal really doesn't allow you to fix contracts in dollars. But some business people literally have refused because they're not going to lose money. So that's when all the other forms of trade, crypto, etc.,
That's when
looking
it
for
thrives.
dollar FX become very desirable, so that people can save their money or as a form of storage capacity so
Okay.
that they don't lose in the long run. What's my proposal? The federal government, like the vice president did say in a forum, I think that was in October 1, we are waiting for the federal government to announce their review on their foreign exchange management policy. It's getting to the time that we need to float it. It's going to be a painful decision, but at the end of the day, we must cut every point of leakage. At some point, though the weight, and I literally believe that if Nigerians, as painful as it is, carry the full weight of when a floated exchange,
Okay.
maybe it may force us to hold our government more accountable so that
Isn't that going to be very painful?
it's painful, but maybe the pain might drive you to do the right thing. Because what normally people say is that no, leave the subsidies. That's our own palliative, since they're eating their own.
So
That's
you're
that's kind
saying
of a faulty
take out the
position.
subsidies,
Take
float
out
the
the
naira.
subsidies, float the naira, let the pain, which is coming, because already they've
The
announced
pain
fuel
is here
prices
already.
going to about 350 in February.
Yes.
What that pain will force you to look at your local government chairman, look at your state assembly, look at your governor, look at the federal government. Any attempt, like all these foreign trips, any attempt of wastage, any attempt for them to misuse or mismanage the little that Nigerians have, I'm sure Nigerians will give them back the heat.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Real quick though, because we're almost out of time. This one here comes to you, Lakonit, from the Guardian newspaper. I don't know if I should go with this one because you wanted to talk about. Okay, no, let's do this one. Marriage certificates issued at Equal Registry valid. It's from the Punch newspaper. It caused a big ruckus on
Uproar.
social media. So, but really, what are your thoughts? What do you stand on this?
Well, maybe like a few hours ago, let me say, okay, like yesterday particularly, there had been a pushback by the principal registrar of the of the federal high court, saying that they have actually not said it is invalid.
Okay.
That it's just that the what the interpretation of that judgment should be is that the federal government, through the Ministry of Internal Affairs, has the authorization to conduct statutory marriages, and they have given local governments some kind of agency to also do same on their behalf, because of course the federal government and the Ministry of Internal Affairs cannot reach or satisfy the demand for that service, and that should be what it is. That it does not necessarily mean that because they cannot reach everybody, then that they can't do it themselves. They are the that originally that marriage was on the exclusive list. Then it was amended to become on the concurrent list, so that people should disregard that general perception of the interpretation that it's been invalid. I had thought when I first heard that it was invalid, I was like, how could you say something that was done 30 years ago is invalid
Invalid today.
today? That I thought that what should have happened, worst case scenario, even if it was going to be, if the court was going to say that they don't have any right to do it, is to say, look, for those of you who've done marriages in federal registries everywhere, go and perfect it in a local government by just registering it and submitting maybe a copy of the certificate issued at the federal registry in a local
Why?
government
Why?
or something. I'm just
It was
saying.
it was legal then. Worst case,
So
even say that from this point going forward.
I'm saying that's what I even thought. That worst case scenario, they'll say, okay, so all your marriage certificates of so date to so date, go and
In a
complete
way,
the
just update
registration.
it, right?
Exactly.
Just
So
update it.
so that was where my opinion was at the beginning of all this. But now that the court has come to say this is what they actually meant with that, and I think that people should be careful in
How to interpret the
passing.
messages.
Exactly. So and then the court should also be quick when they pass judgments to explain the meaning of the interpretation of court judgment, so that people don't carry false news all over the place.
All right, thank you so much. Real quick, this one here comes to you, Devo. It's from the Vanguard newspaper. It says FG collects 7 trillion through TSA. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, just a point of accountability by the Ministry of Finance. Remember, the TSA was set up by the Buhari-led administration as a form of accountability for public sector finance administration, given the fact that there was some level of autonomy in the administration of funds, and at some point, many ministries, departments, and agencies had created multiple accounts for various reasons, both legit and illegal. So the TSA was a system whereby that the receipts of public funds would go into one account, all right, and from there the federal government would appropriate to all ministries, departments, as agencies as appropriated by the National Assembly. Now, at that point, banks were asked to remit most of their funds into this account and stop collecting on behalf of
Agencies.
those, yes, those MDAs. Now, she was saying that any banks or private organizations that fail to do this would be handed over um, to the EFCC. However, there are agencies that were not on the list, like the NNPC as well as the Nigerian military,
Okay.
which is why when they pay for subsidy, nobody knows when, how, where, what amount was carried on. So, Minister, kindly, dear, um, uh, find a way of adding these agencies, because it creates a
That's the
constitution.
NNPC now, and also
Yes, and the
the
Nigerian
military.
military. It creates a constitutional gap whereby accountability is not covered for the two largest spending and appropriated agencies within the country.
All right, thank you so much for that. Our final story, this one comes to you, Lakunle, and of course, I'd like you to, in one word, really. Nigeria owes 38 trillion naira, six fresh 5.8 billion dollars external loan, and also $10 million grant. It's from the Guardian newspaper this morning.
Well, the 38 trillion, as said, is external debts owed by all the arms of government, the federal, the state government, and FCT.
Yes.
Now, the additional loan that is being asked for now is not a new loan, as it were.
Okay.
It's already part of the medium term expenditure of government that has been done since 2018 or thereabout. So it's just now that the time for them to actually source to look for the loan. The government has a plan to say, in so period of time, this amount of loan we're going to borrow, I will do it in tranches. So this is one of the tranches of that loan that they are taking, and they've broken it down. Whether I agree, because of time, whether I agree or not with what they want to use the money for, they've broken down what they want to use the money for as follows: modernization and expansion of grid, malaria projects for 290 million, 700 million for sustainable water supply, sanitation,
Well,
and
Lakunle,
hygiene.
real quick though, just sorry to cut you short. With all this that they've listed down, do you think that it's sustainable? Can these loans, can they be repaid back conveniently? Because it seems as though we're servicing back the loans with almost 90% of the revenue.
That's a whole different conversation that will take a whole
But in
day.
one
But
word,
in one word, I struggle to find one word. Let me use two words.
Okay.
I'm afraid.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Lagos, that's our show today. I see all the messages from Dr. Davis, Yinka Bolu. This one here says, thought the TSA was started by the Jonathan administration. Also, Jerry comes in real quick to say, good morning, Devo. Did you say look at your local government chairman? You want to die? Where where area boys surround him? Those guys are inaccessible. as they built walls around themselves upon ascending to power. They don't even live in the area. Where were they before? I mean, they got to office.
Well, when you pay the new rates and the new prices, you create access to them.
All right. Well, that's our show. You can find our analysts up on social media. Lakunle Yusuf is at Lakunle Yusuf on Instagram and across all platforms. And also Devo Okore as well is at Devo Okore on Instagram and other platforms as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Lagos Talks continues in a few more minutes. Or rather, Pressure Press ends and Lagos Talks continues in a few more minutes. So please stay with us.